Letshuoer, sound alive. Well, I certainly hope I do. Headphone highlights. Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and this is the Letshuoer S15. It's the new, bigger brother to the already well-respected S12 and S12 Pro, which we have already reviewed and we love. But at only 15 years old, the S15 still can't quite drive, but it is looking a little bit more mature. At any rate, full disclosure that Letshuoer did provide the S15 to me for this review, so thank you very much, Letshuoer, but as always, all thoughts and opinions will be my own. Now let's get going and start with the build. And here they are, the S15s. Quite a bit different than some of Letshuoer's other designs. I think they're quite beautiful. I think it's a pretty nice aesthetic here. It's probably not going to be for everyone, and I can acknowledge that. But for me, I think they actually look really, really nice. I appreciate the kind of contrasting of the silver with this kind of soft blue. I think it looks great. And I think that it does kind of give the S15s a little bit more of a sophisticated and more mature visual aesthetic than its S12 counterpart. But speaking of the shells themselves are very, very nice and are built very, very well. They are not solid metal as we've seen in the likes of the S12, and instead have this really kind of nice, soft, textured shell here of some other kind of material, some sort of 3D printed polymer or something, but it feels really, really nice in the hand, on the finger, and the face too also. It just feels great. And these ridges here are actual ridges in the design. You can feel them. They're nice and textured. Everything about the shell feels really, really nice. Again, this nice, soft, matte, silky-like texture on it. It feels great between your fingers. The drivers in here are 14.8mm planar drivers with their R-Sonic passive 6mm filtering. That's a Letshuoer thing. You could take that how you will, but yes, there is also some built-in filtering inside of the built-in chassis in here. On the back of the shells, we do have everything very, very clearly identified. You have a very clear S15L for left and S15R for right, so your left and your right channels are very well and easily labeled. And then also you could see on the cable here, R and L as well. So again, very quick and easy to visually see which channel is which. We even have the right channel marked with a little red ring right there on the cable. I'll take off one of these tips so you can take a look at the size of the nozzle. The nozzles are quite large. They might be even a little bit larger than the S12s, but probably pretty dang close. We might get a chance to take a look at that later, but yeah, pretty large nozzles. And then the cable might look a little bit familiar to you. That's because it is basically the same cable that we have seen from Letshuoer before. And that's fine because it's an excellent cable. It's a nice two-weave cable, kind of black, not really black, but a silver and dark gray pattern. It looks really, really nice. You have your little zip tie right there that says Letshuoer on it. The difference that we get with the S15's cable is we have a right angle termination this time around instead of just a straight termination. Now, for me, I maybe prefer straight terminations over right angle because most of my listening is done on a desk situation, but I could see how maybe portable this might be more ideal. But yes, it is right angle, but also much like the S12 Pro, it is modular. So we are able to swap tips on the cable here to accomplish different terminations. You have right now I have the 4.4 balanced pentagon, but you can also attach a 3.5mm and I believe a 2.5mm as well. We'll take a look when we start talking about accessories, which is right now. So before we start talking too much about all the cool stuff that comes with the S15, I do want to take a moment to appreciate the unboxing experience. If you haven't seen the unboxing experience for the S15 just yet, there's a link in the description. It was surprising for me. I was not expecting it to be this kind of an elegant, very premium unboxing experience. It's really quite cool. So right from opening the box, you're greeted with this really nice freaking silver envelope. Like that's pleasant, that's nice. In here wasn't anything particularly exciting, just your documentation, but what a very nice little display. I like that a lot. What was really cool though is this drawer. This drawer slides out to reveal your carrying case, which is right here. Let's turn that around. There you go. Letshuoer. And then also your interchangeable modular termination here. So yes, we have 2.5mm balanced and then 3.5mm non-balanced. And then again, attached is the 4.4mm pentagon balanced. But that's how you can modularly swap out the tips on the cable. And then the case here is a very, very nice case. It's a little bit on the bulky side, but it has, again, almost, is it the same? It is very, very close. I don't think it is the same material, but it has the same sort of soft texture on the surface here. Really, the entire body of this case just feels so soft in the hand. It's lovely. It does say Letshuoer right there on the top there, and it undoes with a simple screw to reveal. Look at those little freaking ear tips. So yeah, you do get an assortment of ear tips. They label them where the blue ones, I suppose, are supposed to offer more kind of vocal forward, vocal focused sound, while the clear tips supposedly offer a more balanced sound. I didn't necessarily notice really a significant difference in the sound performance between the two different materials on these tips, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. I didn't think it was really that noticeable, but hey, it's there, and having lots of tip options is never a bad thing. But yeah, it's lovely. This can come out too if you want to just have this cool little ring of tips. But yes, it's a nice case. I do like it. I haven't seen too many cases of this kind of design, and these do fit in here quite well. They fit in there very nicely. So good packaging and good kind of unboxing experience, user experience. It's really nice. It makes this just feel that much more premium based on the kind of unboxing and user experience when first getting these out of the box, and I appreciate that. So the build quality is great. They're built very, very well. How do they fit and feel? Well, this is interesting, and we're gonna have to kind of take out something to do a little comparison here, but they do fit very nicely. So in the ear, it's pretty comfortable. It's very isolating for sure. So I'm getting immediate isolation, and it's very good isolation. My voice is muffled. I can't hear the fans anymore. It's a good solid seal. And the shape here does conform to my ear fairly well, but I will say that they're not as comfortable as the S12s. I do think that the S12s, and you'll see the difference when I bring it out, but the S12s have just a little bit different of a design that for me just works better. But you know, your mileage will vary because everyone's ears are different. But yes, they do fit very well, and I can wear these for a while, but after some longer listening sessions, say more than 45 minutes to an hour, I start to get some ear fatigue. So on the topic of comparison, for us to continue to talk about the S15, we have to bring out the little brother, the S12s. These are the S12 Pros, which we've already reviewed and we actually really, really enjoy. When we're talking about just the fit here, the fit and the comfort, there's a difference in physical design here that is a contributing factor of how they're going to fit and how comfortable these are going to be. I'll do my best to show this off, but it is a little bit subtle. We can tell pretty clearly that there is a design change in the shell and chassis of the IEMs. Looking at these side by side, I'll do my best to, there you go. But they are generally the same sort of teardrop shape, but instead of this kind of bulkiness right here, it's been smoothed out. You will notice though that the back end on the S12 is a bit sharper than it is on the S15. The S15 just has kind of a smoother, rounder sort of shape to it, and it is actually larger. It might not look that much larger from this angle, but if I put these side by side like so, you can tell that the body on the S15 is actually quite a bit thicker. So you are getting a bit more kind of separation between the back end of the shell and your ear. You have a lot more volume of the shell that has to get into your ear. There you go. That's probably even better angle to see it. So yes, the S12 Pro here, it is a bit smaller. S15 is going to be bigger, so it is going to be a different fit in the ear than if you may be used to the S12. That's something just you should be aware of, because while they, again, look like similarly shaped IEMs, they do fit very, very differently. And for me, it's really no comparison. The S12s, they not only go in much easier, but they feel so much better in the ear. I could listen to the S12s almost endlessly. I don't feel like I'm ever going to be very fatigued by the S12s, but the S15s do, over a period of time, start to give me some ear fatigue. But again, your mileage may vary on that. And as mentioned before with the build, you can now actually see it with your own eyes. The S12s have this nice kind of metal chassis, aluminum chassis, while the S15s do not have metal. They're kind of a very soft plastic of some sort. In terms of weight, they're about the same. I don't really feel like one's much heavier than the other. It's not enough for me to be able to distinctly tell. If I had to guess, I would guess that the S12s are maybe just a tiny bit heavier, and that's only a guess because I don't have the weight numbers on hand right now. And now let's talk sound performance. The big sort of buzzword term that they're using in all the marketing for the S12 here is broader soundscape. And what I think that they mean by that is that these offer pretty substantial soundstage for an IEM. And in that area, I wholeheartedly agree. The sound staging in the S15 is phenomenal, absolutely stunning, wonderful amounts of sound staging, and incredible imaging, very precise, detailed imaging that's very well separated and well defined, making that an extremely holographic sort of listening experience. In that area in particular, they absolutely shine. But beyond that, I think the biggest question is, how do they compare to our already respected and loved S12 Pros? Now, it shouldn't come to too much surprise that they do have a bit of a similar kind of sound signature. They're aiming for the same sort of kind of slightly neutral, but maybe just barely a little bit V-shaped on either end of the spectrum. But in general, there is a very kind of house sound going on here. Letshuoer is going for a similar target, but they are approaching it in different ways. When it comes to bass performance, there's really not a whole lot that's changed here. They both perform exceptionally well with wonderful bass representation. Neither one really hits harder than the other, but if I really had to dig deep, I would say that the S15s do offer just a little bit extra resolution in the bass range, so you are getting a bit more information while getting about on par equal impact and attacks in your bass range. The biggest difference is how the S15 handles the mid-range. Mid-range on the S12s is a little bit more kind of focused, a little bit more in your face, especially the vocal range. On the S15s, vocals are pushed further away. They're giving you a bit more air, a bit more space, while maintaining a lot of clarity, a lot of very natural sounding timbre, similar to the S15s, but I would say more so. You're getting more natural sound in the vocal range in the S15s. It just sounds a lot more real. And maybe it is because of that distance that you're getting out of it, but coupling with that extra air and just the extra amount of, I think, kind of detail and texture you get in the mid-range, it just sounds more realistic. And overall, maybe just not quite as intimate sounding in the vocal range as the S12 Pros are. Getting into the treble range, we start to see some differences again. S15s are able to offer quite a bit more sparkly high end than the 12s. 12s do a great job, don't get me wrong. Their treble performance is actually excellent, but you do get more sparkle, more texture, and more nuance in the S15s. And combining that extra kind of quality and texture and detail in the high end with the S15's ability to actually perform faster than the S12s, you get more speed out of these planars. It actually makes for a very engaging and dynamic experience. Better dynamics in the S15 than in the S12s, better speed, and because of this, the S15s are able to handle more complex and layered listening. So big band music, big orchestras, music that has just lots of different layers and spacing and instruments, and it can handle it much better. And you're getting a lot more definitive detail, coupling with that imaging as well, the imaging and the soundstage. You have a bigger presence and understanding of where everything is and more precision of where those things are. So it ends up being a very engaging and dynamic and realistic sounding listening experience, while the S12 Pros, still phenomenal, still excellent sounding and excellent performing IEM. They're a bit more smoothed out, relaxed, and a little bit more intimate, while the S15s bring in some more focus, bring in more detail, more clarity, more cleanliness. They're basically the S12s, but they're opened up, they're better defined, they're more realistic, they're more detailed, they're more focused, and provide you just that much more nuance than you otherwise weren't getting with the S12s. So yes, the S15s are a noticeable improvement over the S12 Pros. You are getting some pretty substantial benefits. But let's talk about price to performance here, because that's where things get a little bit blurred. The S12s and the S12 Pros are kind of an industry leader when it comes to price performance in this price range. 130 some bucks, incredible performance for that range, and not a whole lot of competition. There's some stuff from Heidi's, for example, can get up there as well, but otherwise, this is an excellent price to performance. While the S15 is the better performer of the two, we're also talking about quite a huge jump in terms of your cost of entry. The S15s are a $330 IAM. $330. That's a huge bump. And I don't think that the difference in quality here justifies that. I think that the S15s just aren't really priced very well. I think that if they were closer to around $200, that would be more appropriate, and I would be able to say it's a definite yes recommendation, go for it for that, the upgrade that it does provide in the sound. But man, for $200 more, oh, that's tough. That's a hard sell. $330 for these is a really hard sell, because while they're better, I don't know if they're that much better. And when it comes to IEMs, once you're hitting that $300 mark, you start to hit some pretty stiff competition. That might not be to say that it can't handle that $300 range competition, but I genuinely think it's not an appropriate price for these. I think they should be about 200 bucks. If they were, that would be an easy recommendation for me, because they are a superb IAM, phenomenal IAM. They have incredible performance in here, and they sound absolutely fantastic. There's real like planar character in the S15. It's more of a over-ear headphone kind of planar sound than I've heard from many planar IEMs. And if you know me, you know I love that over-ear planar. So yes, they're great, they're fabulous, and they are, to date, the best sounding thing I have heard from Letshuoer in this space, but they're just not priced quite appropriately. I wish they were a little bit cheaper. If all you care about is a straight upgrade, is it better? Yes. Yes, it is. Is that worth it to you? Well, that's gonna be up to you. Anyway, thank you, Letshuoer, so very, very much for providing the S15 to us for this review. It's a phenomenal IAM. You guys are really, really killing it. Thank you very, very much. But otherwise, that's about all we have for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be seeing you again soon.